Nobody Asked Me Guy show. I'm your host, Melvin Lars, and I'm sure all of you guys have signed in and clicked in because you want to hear this great artist that we have on hand, Brother Don Cincone. Now, obviously, when you hear the name, you may say Cincone. That name sounds like an Italian or something of that nature. But believe me, you are going to enjoy this brother. I know that you see him on the screen already. He's agreed to be here with us. And just to tell you just a little bit about Brother Cincone, because he's going to be talking with you himself and sharing with you. You know, as we were looking at some of the information, it talks about his breadth of knowledge. And when you get the opportunity, and I'm sure that you will, go to the internet and read this information, you will see for yourself that he's just a phenomenal young brother. Has expressed that he can't be captured in a single conversation, which we will not try to capture it all tonight. He's from Alto, Louisiana, and those of you that living across the country, we know that you are from. Everybody thinks that everybody in Louisiana are from New Orleans. The brother's not from New Orleans, nor am I. He's from Alto, Louisiana. He says it's a small town, it's an unincorporated county in Richland Parish. Cincone has traveled the world, served in the U.S. Army, spent time on the East Coast and the West Coast, and had his work featured in a major 1965 Technicolor film starring Dick Van Dyke. Sure, you've all heard of Dick Van Dyke. James Garner. Sure, you've all heard of him. The beautiful Elke Summer, and of course Angie Dickinson. Now, see that resume, just that paragraph tells you what you are in for. And once you feast your eyes on these fabulous, magnificent paintings, I know you're going to want more. Now, you don't want to hear me running my mouth, so I'm going to say again, welcome to Brother Don Cincone, and we're really happy about Brother Cincone being here. Brother Cincone, welcome to the Nobody Asked Me Guy show, sir.
Thank you.
And
we're
Brother Cincone, I know people have a lot of canned questions they like to ask, and I'm going to be guilty with this first one, and we're going to try to venture from there. But if you'll share with us, please, the initial interest in painting. And now I know it because I read the information, but I guess don't know it. So if you don't mind, sir, will you share with us your initial interest in painting?
My initial interest in painting does not really begin with painting.
Okay.
The initial interest begins with drawing.
Okay.
And the idea of the drawing has to do with what all little children do. They take anything that and draw whatever comes out of the movement of their hands. And whatever they decide that it is, that's what it is. My drawings of those sorts were called chicken scratch. The only difference between me and every other child that has done the same thing is I kept doing it for a lifetime. And that led into the idea of painting, which really is a question for me more about the function of color. My introduction to color was being in the presence of my mother, who was my constant inspiration and was always near me when I was growing up as a child in rural Northeast Louisiana. Much of that time was spent drawing things by tracing the images, and those things we would color together with wax crayons. I also learned many colors because she taught me how to embroidery at a very early age, and that was a vast range of colors, and that developed my understanding of color quite clearly. And by the time I learned about painting, the first introduction to that was with one of the most difficult mediums there is, and that's watercolor. So it went there forward.
Wow, that's very interesting because the second question again is very mundane, and everybody likes to know, if your immediate family were interested in the arts, and you're explaining that, about your mom and the different vast colors and that kind of thing, and we'll just segue on into number three. Now, in your early years, were you ever concerned that you did not see others that looked like you displaying drawings and paintings on a regular basis?
No, because the school that I entered officially was a one-room schoolhouse.
Okay.
And I began school when I was about 3 years old. I don't know when I was officially enrolled in school. And there were 7 grades taught by 2 brilliant teachers. And there was a process involved that we, the students, had no idea of what was going on. And that process dealt with art. And art was to them better understood from the genres of singing and dance and drama from that end. But also, we were taught to write in cursive. And the method of learning cursive had more, if not in fact, everything to do with making beautiful line drawings. I learned that those line drawings were called alphabets and numbers, etc., etc. So with that undergirding factor, early on in my future, there were all kinds of people around me that were doing the same thing. The beautiful thing that evolved were numbers of boys and boys older than I that drew all of the time. Some of those guys, someone that were extremely gifted at drawing and
Okay, Brother Cincone, it's kind of going in and out. I don't know if it's the internet connection, but if you can hear me, we are going to continue. I can still see you very. Okay.
And from that,
if you can still hear me, it's telling you to grab this spot again. So I don't know if your internet went out or not, but we're going to continue if you can hear me. But I just want to share with you, we have one of your friends here who recognized you. Her name is Mary, and she is saying hello. And we also, while we're taking this pause to wait for the return of Brother Don Cincone, is that as some of you that are on here know that you are welcome to come to the platform and ask questions and have FaceTime with Brother Don Cincone. So feel free. You see that there are 2 extra cameras at the bottom. Feel free to take one of those cameras, and if you want to come on and ask questions of Brother Cincone, please feel free to do that. Looks like he had a momentary loss, possibly, of internet connection, and as we all know, it's great to have, but we also know that sometimes there are glitches. So as we wait on Brother Cincone, I just want to share again is that we're very happy that all of you are here and you've all decided to join us. And feel free to come on and click on one of our cameras. And Mary Kilbree, oh, he was your pastor and he is your mentor. Fantastic. And I'm sure he's trying to get back on. But Mary is very great to have you here. And feel free to take one of these cameras. Now we're going to be displaying some of Brother Cincone's art on a vacant camera. However, feel free to grab one of these cameras and you come on and you can FaceTime Brother Cincone in real time. And as always, Brother Curtis, we are so very, very pleased that you are here, my friend. And we always appreciate your support. Laquetta, we're very happy that you are here as well. We want you to feel just as welcome to grab one of these cameras if you'd like to come on and FaceTime Brother Cincone. But while Brother Cincone is trying to reconnect with us, we just want to say to those of you that already know Brother Cincone, is that you know what a fantastic artist he is, and you're familiar with his travels. So I do not want to rain on Brother Cincone's parade by sharing any more information about him. We want him to be able to do that. So if you just will allow us a few more minutes here to see if he can reconnect and to come back to the platform. But in the meantime, if some of you would like to grab a spot on the camera and maybe share some questions briefly or talk about some things that you would like to talk with Brother Cincone about, please feel free to do so. And let me say so to Brother Bobby, man. It's great always to see you. Glad that you're here. We're just waiting. Carol, thanks for joining us. We're just waiting for the return of Dr. Cincone. Unfortunately, it looks like he's having some internet issues. So he just kind of faded out on us. And you guys have been to this platform before. It's like anything else. If your internet kicks out, then your box is going to close. So Brother Cincone is already sharing some very important nuggets with us, and we're just waiting for his return. So we again invite any of you that would like to come on and be here when Brother Cincone returns. Please feel free to do so. Grab one of those cameras and make your way in. But as art goes, as we know, art is it's a very it takes skill, and Brother Cincone mentioned about when he was young and he started with his drawing and things that his mother did, teaching him how to croquet and how to coordinate colors and teaching him about things about colors, etc. So, that is an education in and of itself. And those that may not be aware, that may have come on a little later, he's from Alto, Louisiana. And I did allude sarcastically, but I was very honest. People that are not from Louisiana, they all think evidently that we all came from New Orleans. Alto is a small town, kind of northeast Louisiana. And I think the largest town to Brother Cincone is Monroe, Louisiana. So we're just glad you're here as we wait for Brother Cincone's return. So Billy, great you're here, brother. Glad that you have clicked on here and joined us. Brother Cincone has been temporarily lost to a internet glitch here, but I'm sure he'll be returning soon. So we're just waiting for to come back on, and feel free to ask any questions that you might have that you might want to ask, or as we await for the return. Hi, Carol, how you doing? We'll have.
Hi, I'm fine. How are you doing?
Fantastic. He lost his Brother Cincone lost his internet connection here for a moment, and he was on fire and just bringing us to pain. So I'm sure he'll be returning momentarily. So okay, I think he's back. No, this is Billy. Okay, yeah, I think he's back. Let's see here. I know we're all excited and waiting for his return. I know you're tired of hearing me babbling on, but we don't want you guys to leave us. We want you to stay with us because Brother Cincone has an awful lot to offer. So please stay with us while we work the glitches out on his internet services. Okay. Looks like he's trying to come back through. So hopefully he'll be appearing here shortly. Also, while we're waiting on Brother Cincone, just wondering if any of you are artists. If you're an artist, if you have paintings or whatever, and I'm a poet, and I call my poetry, I always say painting with words. So I do consider myself an artist as well, guys. However, I paint with words. And Brother Cincone paints with the paintbrush and with the pencil lead, and we do pencil lead as well as with anything possibly we can write with. So this is just very exciting time for me, and hope you stay with us because as I'm looking at the clock here, he should be coming back in any moment now. If you have any questions, put them in the box below or come on live and share those questions as we await Dr. Cincone's return. And looks like there is an internet issue. So now we would share with you some of the biographical information on Dr. Cincone, but we want him to tell you. But I will say this: now, the child, Cincone was always drawing, which he's told us already. There was never a time in his life, he says, when he didn't want to be an artist. So he has always been interested in art, and talks about that at the beginning when he mostly drew stick figures, like he alluded to, and he was driven to improve, like most of us, because of many times not receiving such flattering statements about his drawing. And he was saying he was challenged at one time to draw his grandfather's Model A Ford in the second grade. And to draw a car second grade, that's a pretty big challenge. And he also was talking about his friends that challenged him to draw an elephant. And I really want him to tell us a story about that because he's saying he had never seen an elephant before. I see someone coming on here, Miss Mary. Okay, Mary, how you doing?
Can you hear me?
I'm great. Yourself?
Right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you great. I see you well as also. We're waiting on Dr. Cincone to return. I think he had a glitch with his internet. He's been here already, and we're just waiting on him to return.
Okay, I've been on and listening. I want to say good evening to all that are out there. I had to get on and say something. First of all, I see Carol. Hey, Dr. Townsend.
Hi, Miss Kilgore. How are you?
She informed me that I will possibly have to be seen on here. So after Rebel Wheels internet put out, I had to get on here and say something. If you look behind me, to those that are tuned in, the picture behind me was Rebel Wheels did this. The picture behind me, and he even autographed it, and it says, "We hold these truths." If you can see it, it's the picture of President 44, former President Barack Obama. And this is not the only painting that I have that our former Pastor Reverend Wheels did. But he's a powerful man. He is he's my mentor. He baptized my daughter. And he's just a person that I really, really believe in and have a lot of respect for.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
that is fantastic. I was telling Cincone that I watched this special on LPB the other Friday, and my only regret was that it wasn't long enough. I don't think they did him justice because it was so brief and so short. But he has fantastic work. And Mrs. Graham, once he gets back, I see him trying to get on here. Once he gets back, they're also going to have some more paintings and things that are going to be showing in the background. But as I shared before, we have listeners on here from the Netherlands, from Scotland, from the Netherlands, Scotland, Ghana, and several places. We are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. And there are some questions that I'm holding to ask until Dr. Cincone gets back. But and we also have Brother Curtis. Now, Curtis is here, and he can hear everything I'm saying. I invite him to come on. Curtis is a phenomenal young brother himself, and he works with artists on his Periscope and things of that nature. So he's here with us as well, and he's just watching things go on here. Bobby is also one of the other persons. And we lost some people. Hopefully they will return and come back and check this whole thing out. But listen, thank you for stepping in, Mary, and at least showing one of the pictures and about Dr.
I'm gonna
Cincone.
move back in. See.
Yeah.
You know, Reverend Wills was Dr. Townsend's and my pastor for about 16 years.
Is that right?
He pastored.
Dr. Townsend was sharing that with me last night. I had seen his work, but I didn't connect the two.
Wow. And that's one thing about him. He's not going to tell you what he does. You have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's a phenomenal man. He's a phenomenal man. I hope they get him back up and get him going, because I want our audience to get to realize his expertise in his area of superlatives that he's been sharing and showing with us already. So that's really good.
I was trying to. This is Carol. I was trying to. I can't get mine in the background to show. I have Reverend Wills and Justice for All with President Bush and Martin Luther King, but I can't get it to.
I saw it then.
Did you see it?
I got a glimpse of it.
So, but yeah, I'm not real good with it.
I said this technology. Else, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
At least you're trying.
At least
you're trying.
Okay, I see
it's
it.
appreciated.
At least I'm trying.
Yeah, at least you're trying.
Because it's
appreciated. And
yes,
as we all know, technology is great. I think here he comes. He's back. Okay, great, Dr.
He's back. Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you. We've been keeping it going for him while he was missing, but he's back. And I have a few people on here, Dr. Cincone, that you know. We have. Okay.
Hi, Reverend Wills. Oh, he didn't hear us.
Okay. He's just retuning.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, Dr. Cincone, you have a few local fans here.
Reverend Wills, can you hear us and see us?
Okay, Brother Don Cincone, are we ready to keep rolling?
Reverend Wills, you there?
Okay, Brother Cincone, can you hear me?
Look at Maddie. Hey, Maddie. Let her get in there, mirror.
Hey, it's almost our bedtime. Reverend Wills? Reverend Wills? Bring it home with me.
Oh, no, not Reverend Wills. That's one that's new for me.
Okay.
Answer your call. That was your number.
Brother Cincone?
Okay.
Okay, can you? Brother Cincone, do you have any sound? Okay.
Will?
Okay, Brother Graham, I'm here. I'm looking at Brother Cincone, but I don't think he can hear me.
Say again?
I'm looking at him, but I don't think he can hear me.
No, you're not coming through on audio.
I mean, he can't even see you.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Okay, wait a minute. He's doing something.
Mr. Graham.
See, he's saying he can see you.
Hey, how about now?
Okay.
It's working.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, listen,
Hi, Wills.
you have some young people on here that are familiar with you, and they decided they wanted to join and say hello. And
Very good.
we are going to continue
Mine is not going.
we're going to continue with our program.
Okay, there it is.
We have other guests that have been coming in, and as you're already aware, we have people here from Scotland, we have people here from Venezuela, we have people here from the Netherlands, we have people
Beautiful.
from Ghana. They're just all over the world. And Curtis,
Beautiful.
Curtis, you're a real champion. We appreciate you staying with us. But Dr. Cincone, I was you were sharing with us about your experience and how your mom kind of got you involved, just teaching you about colors and things of that nature. Can I segue on into this? Now, I know because I read your information, but will you share with our audience where you attended high school and was your high school enthusiastic about your art abilities?
Yes, I began high school at Monroe Colored High, and my principal declared that our high school did not have a name because colored was not a name. That was a false identity. We were there from the ninth grade through the sophomore year. Our school did not have an art department for the visual arts. It had two of the finest music teachers probably in this country, but there were instructors at the school who had a deep interest in the visual arts. And the principal, who was Mr. Henry Carroll, allowed those teachers to form a group that were gifted in drawing and painting by that time to form an art group. And that art group competed against all other Black schools in the state of Louisiana. We competed first in district competitions, and that overall winner of the district went to state. State was always at Southern University A&M. The first year that I entered it, I didn't even place. Two of my other buddies did win second place. Second places didn't move you forward. My sophomore year, several of us won first place. I won first place in oil portraiture and also landscape watercolors. A group of four went to Southern University to compete. And on the day that we were to go back and find out who had won in the competition, my buddies and I walked into that gallery looking for our paintings that we were sure we had taken all first places, because the new high school that I now was attending was called Carroll High, located in Monroe, Louisiana. That was what Carroll did. We felt we were the best of the best, so we were expecting to win first place. And we could not find our paintings exhibited. We asked the gentleman whom we had been told was the director of Southern University's art department, where were Carroll High's art entries? And he told us that our entries were in his office. And we were curious as to why they were there. Then he proceeded to tell us that our works had all been disqualified.
Wow.
And, yes. And we were petrified, of course. And we asked him why, and he told us that they, and he was one of the judges, did not think that high school students were capable of that level of work. So we were all disqualified. And that made us very angry and very disappointed. But that disappointment and anger drove me to resolve that I would come back the next year and I would win. And I made a plan and I did. I won first place in oils the next year, first place in watercolors, and second place in sculpture.
Wow. 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 Well, but listen. Well, first of all, before I ask this question, let me ask our guests to put yourselves on mute. This is a live recording, and it's going out all over the country. And thank you. And if obviously you have the right to come in and ask questions, etc. But when you're not asking a question, please put yourself on mute, and we appreciate it. But Dr. Cincone, wow. I mean, they just arbitrarily decided that they were going to take your paintings out because they didn't think that you guys had the ability as high school students to do it. I mean, they didn't consult anybody. They just took that upon themselves to do that.
That's quite correct.
Wow. 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 Now, I know you've already mentioned about attending Southern University. And
Yes.
and we talked. I saw a little bit in the bio about the art program. If you don't mind, will you elaborate on that a little bit as far as Southern University and the arts at that time? Because I know you'd already experienced, from what you've just shared with us, you'd already experienced it in high school, where they inadvertently remove your materials because of their, in today's day, they would call it because of their hating. But to extract something from students without giving them an opportunity, as far as I'm concerned, even in modern times, being an old principal myself, smacks on conspiracy. But I won't take you there. But once you got to, it does. It smacks of conspiracy. But once you got to Southern and you got to continue to pursue your artist capabilities, did you find it inviting? Did you find it a little difficult? Or were people kind of nonchalant? You mind sharing a little bit of that with us, please?
Yeah, my entry into Southern University was on scholarship, and it was in the visual arts. So I went to Southern with great expectations of learning everything there was possible to learn about the visual arts. After I had been there for a while, and out of the blue, while working with that same professor who was the head of the art department, I asked him a question concerning my future. I asked him, what could I expect to do with my art once I graduated from Southern University? And he didn't answer immediately, which was part of his character. When he did answer, he said that the most I could expect to become was a secondary art instructor. And I loved teachers then. I love teachers with a passion today. But that was some of the most disappointing words I had ever heard. So I withdrew from Southern and returned home to Monroe, Louisiana. My parents, of course, were very disappointed, but I persevered from that point. That was my experience with visual arts at Southern University.
Wow. You know, when I hear stories such as you're sharing, when I encounter professionals and you hear stories, it unfortunately smacks of the problem in education today. Is where we try to, and by we I'm talking the universal we, try to implant our doubts about ourselves on students. And what you're describing smacks of that. Unfortunately, I know this talk is not about education specifically, but it smacks of that, you know. And I just have to say, I mean, I'm in awe. I'm just inspired by what you're sharing, I'm seeing some hearts going up for you on the other area sites we have, and I'm seeing some thumbs up going up for you on other areas of sites that we have, that you persevered and you have such great art, and wonderful is saying never stop and etc. So that's fantastic. Now let me ask you this: were there opportunities afforded to you to showcase your art during your college days? You've already answered that, but when you left Southern, and maybe I should pose the question this way: once you left Southern and you kept going forward, were there immediate opportunities, or did it take a while, or how exactly did that transpire?
Actually, my opportunities came very early. Even when I was in grade school, there was a lady in our community, and that community in the Monroe area was called Booker T. Washington Edition.
Mhm.
She gave me a commission to do a mural in her church, and she paid me $12 to paint that mural. And at the time that she painted it, she said that was all she could afford. Well, the truth of the matter was, I would have painted it for nothing.
Okay.
When I was 11th grade, I was hired by a local sign company. Are we okay now? And that local sign company taught me many, many things across that summer. And I grew greatly. I even solved one of their problems, design problems. And from that design, a 12-foot tall metal can neon sign was erected of a cowboy that
Okay.
advertised a restaurant. So I had many opportunities growing up.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Listen, let me share with our Dr. Graham, who's putting those pictures up for you. Tell us she's doing a fantastic job. We appreciate it. If she could just mute the computer, because what I'd like us to do, if we can, is to segue into you maybe talking about some of those paintings. If you want to describe those paintings, that situation, I mean, that's perfect. That she's doing that. We just, if she'll put the laptop on mute, that would be much appreciated. Now, while we're waiting on those paintings, Dr. Cincone, was or is there one individual in the world of art that particularly caught your interest? You know, as far as their painting style or the kinds of things they painted, their messages in their paintings. Is there one individual or several individuals that particularly caught your interest?
There were several. You have to understand that when I was growing up, it was a world apart in many aspects than the world that we are in now. There were major artists that were illustrators who illustrated all of the leading magazines. And many of those persons, I had no idea uh, who they were. Some few of them, I did know their names. So I was very much drawn to what they were doing. And also, going back again to when I was 14 years old, I was a student in the correspondence course of Indianapolis, Indiana, Wisconsin, and in the famous artist course. And many of those instructors were among those top illustrators. So they inspired me greatly. And the first knowledge of an artist that was of my color was one of the ones that really helped me to understand that there was a great future for me in the world of the arts, and that was Charles White.
Okay, Charles White. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Now, I kind of want to go back and forth a little bit here because I know you when you started us off, you were sharing that initially your expertise, and I'll use that. Your expertise started with pencil before progressing to actually painting, and I know you've shared with us already the artistry that was going on in your home with your mom. So I just like to ask, when did you get your first big break in the land of pencils and paintbrushes that put your concepts and your precepts on paper and canvas?
That, again, is a relative question as it refers to me, because with me, that was ongoing.
Okay.
For instance, when I enlisted into the U.S. Army and was in basic training, and it became known that I could draw and paint, my company commander asked me to paint the company sign. We were dog company, so I painted a big German Shepherd. I was also invited to paint murals in the mess hall. When I was shipped out to Germany, I continued to do that kind of thing through many of the military posts that I was near to in the 7th Army area in and around Stuttgart, Germany.
Wow.
And from there, coming out of there, in time, I went back to school in San Francisco, not as a painter, but as a fashion designer. And
right?
yes,
Okay.
And finishing fashion design, the school got me an interview in New York City by a company. I went there, and that's another story. But I did design in New York City. My first design job there was designing furs, stoves, jackets, etc., etc. By that time, I'm married with 2 children. And we later went, from there, we went to Los Angeles, and Los Angeles industry blocked me out. They would not allow any blacks to enter that particular industry. And that worked a great hardship on my family. But in time, I found an art agent. And it was through that art agent, after being with them for about a year, that Universal Studios saw my work. And you mentioned that in the introduction. Ross Hunter chose 85 of my paintings to be in a major motion picture called The Art of Love.
85.
85.
Wow. Okay. Wow. And I don't want to cut you off. Please continue. This is This is a fascinating story, Brother Cincone. Please continue. I don't want to interrupt.
Well, that launched what some would say was my career. Of course, I knew that my mom had launched my career when she was mentoring me as a 2-year-old, and from that point on. And all of those that I was in contact with, um, one of the most inspiring, two of the most inspiring people in my life was one lady that we call Miss Stell. When my parents were leaving Alto as sharecroppers, moving to Monroe, she hugged me and kissed me on the cheeks and told me to be myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea what she meant, but her words were taunting. And I sought after understanding what she was saying. And in time, I began to understand what she was saying. Fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Amanda Washington, said to me one day when I turned in a drawing of General Dwight D. Eisenhower during the time of World War II that I was an artist. I believed her and I pursued after that manner. And in time to come came the university, or rather came our Universal Studios looking for the right artists. And I had been prepared by the leading of the good Lord.
Wow. Fantastic story, Brother Cincone. You know, Brother Cincone, we need to write a book if you haven't, and there need to be a movie made about Don Cincone. Because
well,
go ahead.
I'm working on my memoir now.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you hang on, and prayerfully it'll be on the market hopefully before the end of this year.
Oh, that's fantastic because you already know as a professional. I mean, these are the story that you're sharing, the expertise that you have, the depth and breadth of your paintings. I mean, this is what great history is made of. And God forbid that we just happen to be talking on the final day of Black History Month. But as we all know, our history is 366 days a year. However, when I'm listening, and that's why I said earlier and I see the thumbs going up again and the hearts flowing, and I'm happy to see that. But and they're doing it for you, not for me. And it's always refreshing when I can see human beings, and I'll be blunt, more specifically, human beings of color beating the odds. And and the odds are very simple to me. We, as a universal world, sometimes when we say beat the odds, we don't perceive the odds as being uh, what you just described when you were in Los Angeles and you were essentially blackballed. We see the odds as being, oh, somebody that just works hard and they just couldn't, but the odds are much bigger, if I'm making any sense. The odds are much bigger because yes, you had to persevere, but in your perseverance, welcome back, Mary. In your perseverance, you had the talent and the skill to move forward and to do, and Dr. Townsend, but you have the talent and the skill, as you know this already, to move forward and to do the things that you're doing. And for anybody that may have missed this, because I see on my other platforms some other people coming on late, to have things portrayed in Hollywood and have things portrayed at that time, and even if they are not movie buffs, I think everyone pretty much have heard of Dick Van Dyke and James Garner and Elke Summer and Angie Dickinson. So to have your work, and as you shared, 85 pieces, wow. Most people never get one piece. Or as we know, many times you have vocal artists who never even get a song. So and you share it with us that your parents were sharecroppers, and the unfortunate incident of the gentleman negating your paintings for fear of, and I told you, I'm just going to say it, sound like conspiracy theory, as to not want to give you and your buddies credit for having done the painting. So, I mean, this is just a phenomenal, phenomenal story. And I know that we talked about some of your paintings, and we were going to put some up. So hopefully that does happen. But if you will, if you share with us some of the places that we may find some of your exhibits.
Most of my paintings are in private collections.
Okay.
Some of the collectors of note who first purchased my paintings when we were in Los Angeles, the very first among those was Vincent Price.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And later on, Henry Mancini.
Wow.
Godfrey Cambridge, the black comic.
Yeah.
Edwin G. Robinson.
Yeah.
And few people like that who purchased paintings during those days. And not only those persons, the ones that really carried milk at that time were the number of persons that if I call their names, no one would know who they are. But that
they might. They might. Give them a try. Hey, Pat.
No,
glad you're joining us, Pat. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
No, I won't call any of their names. Some of them became very close friends. Yes.
Okay. Well, listen, but Brother Cincone, I have to say this. You know, anytime you talk about Edward G. Robinson, anytime you talk about Vincent Price and those kind of things, even now, you know, with all the movies that are syndicated and all of the shows that are syndicated, even our millennial, if I can use that term, I don't really believe in labeling things, but even our millennials are familiar with those names. And Godfrey Cambridge. So to, you know, just to have those individuals who are, or how can I say, as far as entertainment go, who are very large in the world of history, I mean, that's just phenomenal because as we all know, you know, people like to quote, brag about whose work they have. And for them to see your artistry as being great, I mean, obviously, man, those are several feathers in your cap. And the younger people need to understand and need to know the depth, and please allow me to say it again, and the breadth of your expertise. You know, people will take us for granted, and by us, I'm talking the universal us. You know, and the phenomenal work that you do and that you're doing, and the names that you've shared, and as you've shared already, that there are so many more names that you could put out there. I mean, that's just phenomenal, and I want to make sure. And on other platforms, I see some thumbs up and some hearts again for you, Brother Cincone. So they are feeling you. You know, you said earlier when I was telling them to expect greatness, and you told me you hope I had a pen to bust the balloon. Well, let me tell you, brother, the balloon is flying high. We don't need a pen because you are really sharing some good stuff here. Now, is there one specific piece that you hold near and dear as one of your greatest works? I mean, I know you're versatile. I know you've been painting and working since the age of 2. However, is there one piece or several pieces that if someone were to ask you, the artist, that if I had to purchase one piece, or if I could only get 2 pieces, what 2 are the closest to you? You, the artist.
That question has been asked of me many, many times.
Okay.
And I have to give the same answer that I've given. That's like asking me to choose one of my 5 children, one of my 14 grandchildren, one of my 7 great grandchildren.
Okay. Hey, well put. And you know what, Dr. Cincone, without being condescending, I figured I would get that as an answer because I'm telling you, because with your greatness and with the things you have out there, I mean, I can see it being hard pressed to answer that. If I might, I mean, are you currently mentoring any up and coming artist, or you? And I didn't ask about your children and your grandchildren. Or you so let me say this: are you mentoring, or are you have grandkids that are interested, great grandkids that are interested, or young men that grew up in your neighborhood, young women grew up in your neighborhood that you may possibly be mentoring at this time?
The I'm constantly mentoring, and that was a part of the beautiful way that I was reared. I
Okay.
was reared by many mentors, especially my parents and grandparents on both sides, and many aunts and uncles and great aunts and uncles. And the mentoring continued with the rearing of my children. And we've done the same thing with the grandchildren. None of them um, at this time, visual artists. They all are creative people. And what I learned early on, that the word art does not limit itself to the visual or the dance or to music. Art has to do with the creative process. So the incredible time that we now live in, with the access of the technology that you and I and the world of people are utilizing, makes possible for me to mentor many people by helping them to understand the creative process. If the creative process is understood, then it is far more expansive. As a matter of fact, it continues to expand according to Einstein. And that creative process is the works that God began all creation from. And God is the artist.
Mm-hmm.
And as the artist, God's first art form was story. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's the very first art form. Those first 5 verses in the book of Genesis reveals a process seemingly that God involved himself with. And through that creative process, we then become invited into that process. And as one philosopher put it, we are all created creativity. So every human being is innately an artist. And it is for that reason that I believe that art is the paradigm of all other disciplines.
Wow, well said, well said. Well, listen, I see we have new people coming on. Again, guys, if you have any questions for Don Cincone, please feel free to put them in the box. Or if we don't have any open cameras at this time. However, if you have any questions, you want to put them in the box. It's about time for us to wrap this up. Please put them in the box. Brother Cincone, do you currently have any exhibits taking place at this moment?
Ask that one again.
Do you currently have any exhibits that you're doing during this time?
Yes, we're developing. We're developing an extensive exhibit through a grant from the Arts and Humanities of Louisiana, and it will cover an oral presentation of many of my work in collections throughout the state, possibly in surrounding states as well. And some of those that we can pull up from online, like the UAW's collection that they have of murals that I was commissioned to paint part of the history of that great union, as well as State Farm. And at the end of the year, part of that oral presentation will be submitted to the Library of Congress. So hopefully everybody can see parts of what I'm doing.
That is huge. That is huge. And I see two of our friends, Mary and Dr. Townsend and Ms. Mary. I know that you know both of them.
Yeah.
And I do. Anchors the cameras for a moment, and they're welcome to stay as long as they like. I just want to share that if we have others that have questions that you'd like to ask Brother Cincone, please feel free to do so because we are wrapping this up, and we'd hate for you to not ask any questions that you might want to ask. And I see these and we have to give a plug to St. Duty CME. I see these two.
Hello, hi, Reverend Wills.
Hello.
It is. So if you guys have any questions, but Brother Cincone, I just want to appreciate you for taking the time to be here, and that's why I said, I'm sitting here and it's very comfortable, and I'm seeing people come on here from all over the world, and I really don't think people understand that not only are you a world-renowned artist, you have people that's tuning in all over the world that hadn't possibly haven't heard of your work, and hopefully they'll be wanting some paintings and that kind of thing. So if you can tell us how they may best contact you.
I will have a new website launched in the month of March, and it will be, you can reach it through doncincone.com.
Okay, I'm putting it in the information box down here, so they can get it.
Yes.
It'll be www.doncincone.com.
Yes.
Okay, and we're going to make that visible for everyone, so they can get to that new website. Anything else you'd like to share with our audience? We still have many people on from the UK, and I've told you about our Scottish friends and our friends from Amsterdam and from Ghana, etc. And hey man, I'm loving it. So Brother Cincone, it's been a pleasure. We want to direct them to go to the archives in PBS and to look at the piece that you had on PBS. We also want to direct our friends to look up Don Cincone, and I guarantee you guys, as I said to you at the opening and onset of the show, is that you're going to find a very interesting gentleman there. You can review some of his outstanding paintings, and obviously we want you to make sure you have some of these paintings in your archived home.
Yes.
Not on your internet archives, but we want you to have some of these paintings archived in your home, because this is truly history. Brother Cincone, obviously, again, read his information. He's been all over the country. He has fabulous, fantastic paintings. And Brother Cincone, if you don't mind me sharing for one last time, as I was talking to Lieutenant Colonel Billy Graham, and he was sharing with me your name, and he was so I told him, I said, I'm really bad at names. I said, but I think I've seen some of his work. And when I rushed to the TV to check you out, I said, oh man, I've seen this dude is bad. So I'm just gonna tell you, brother Cincone, you a bad brother, man. I did, man. I admire your work. As a matter of fact, and I'm not just telling people to get a piece of the work. We have to get a piece of the work for ourselves to make sure we have at least one. I'm gonna do more, but at least we have one archived in the Lars household. So I'm telling everybody on the Nobody Asked Me Guys show, I really appreciate you being here. We're starting to pick up more and more viewers, and we're just really excited. We know that the show goes out all over the country. And so we just also want to give a shout out, Brother Cincone, to Dr. Vibe, who is my mentor in this business. And this is, so we just kind of rock and roll in there. And again, we certainly thank Dr. Carol Townsend, was asking last how she could get some of the St. Duty people involved, etc. And I know we see Miss Mary down in the corner and the baby. What is the baby's name as we get ready to close?
This is Madeline. I tell you, this is Reverend Wheels baptized Madeline. Well, she took a bow off. We're doing hair on here. I'm sorry, it's late. But when you disconnected, I was sharing with Mr. Lars that the painting in the background is what I purchased. What I purchased from you. I don't know if you see it. That's one of the paintings that we have of yours, and we're just sharing how you are our mentor and just a wonderful person. And we were just so glad to be on sharing with you. We were up here doing homework and doing hair and listening to you.
That's
quite all right.
Mr. Mary.
That's quite all right.
Madeline.
That's quite all right. Yeah. And Luke is saying, Dr. Cincone, it's a very nice painting and very impressive. And Luke, while you're here with us, sir, just let me say to you, man, please go to www.doncincone.com, man, and you'll see some fantastic painting. Take your friends there with you so that they can view them as well. Dr. Cincone, we know it's been a long evening. We do appreciate you being here. You're going to have to come back once you get that website and stuff up and going. And also, I'm sure we're going to do some other things, as you mentioned, about doing some being contracted to do some things, and the Library of Congress, you'll be submitting things, etc. That needs to be world known. So we're going to do that. Guys, it's been great. Dr. Cincone, we appreciate you. Doctor.
Well, we thank you for the privilege to talk with you and all of the wonderful people around the whole world. We just thank God for all of you.
Thank you, because Dr. Cincone, you certainly you are around the world right now. And speaking of fashion, see, this is an epiphany. If you recall, just as you were coming on, and I was filling a telephone call, and I told the person I'd call them back. Well, if you look up Byron Law's Beauty Mark, Byron is actually he's a world-renowned fashion designer himself in New York. And we just happen to have the same name. Our mother and his father, a sister and brother, and he's going to come on and do some stuff. So it's just an epiphany when you mentioned about being a fashion designer, because he and I have been playing phone tag, and for him to ring in just as you came on, just kind of solidified everything. So it's just very great having you here. If you're interested, guys, and most people ask me why I named my show the Nobody Asked Me Guy. I'll let you continue to wonder about that, but you can contact me at www.dyingonmyfeet.com. Once you get to that site, you will see 8 or 9 ways in which you can contact us. I am an author. I'm a poet. I'm a writer. I'm a weekly writer for the Good Men Project. We write articles each and every week concerning all kinds of things. I'm a weekly guest on the Dr. Vibe Show. We are black men of color, or black men of color. That's a double negative there. But anyway, we talk about trending issues from aspects that you do not hear them from. Guys, also, I'm just finished another book called Mothers and Their Smen, an introspective look at mothers rearing their sons. You can get my latest book will be out Mother's Day, May 19th. Mothers and Their Smen, an introspective look at Mothers Rearing Their Sons. Also, my book, Dying on My Feet, My Journey ×2, you can get that again at Barnes and Nobles. You can text me for personal copies, etc. So again, we just want to thank our great guest, Dr. Cincone. I am honored to be in the company of this brother. He's fantastic. And for all of you that's listening around the world, please go to www.doncincone.com and put some of these paintings in your home, because you will not find any that are more impressive. So with that, Dr. Cincone, again, we want to thank you. We are going to end the recording. This recording was recording live, but it's archived forever because it will be on YouTube, and it also is on Facebook. So it's going to be archived forever. And then I'm also going to send you a copy of this broadcast that we've had tonight for your personal archives.
Thank you.
So ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Dr. Cincone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining us. And again, we do apologize for the glitch. We all know that social media is great, but we also know sometimes that with our internets, we have glitches and the internet goes out. But thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for staying with us. Have a great night. And we really appreciate each and every one of you.